Welcome to God's Guitar episode number 5, and before I get into it, once again be sure to like, comment, favorite, subscribe down below, click the little bell so you don't miss anything. And today we're going to be looking at Jimi Hendrix, the man, the myth, the legend, the icon, the innovator, the guy who really, for such a brief career, really revolutionized the instrument and everybody else who was to come after. And really, to me, was one of those guys in the 60s who was really one of the few showmen who not only could play, but also had this flair about him on stage and this frantic energy that anytime you seen Jimi Hendrix play, it was really energy, especially those live performances. But let's get into some of his career. Now, it wasn't a fast start for Jimi Hendrix. He was meandering, kind of playing with bands here and there. One of his more famous, I guess, is Little Richard, where he would literally just stand back with his amp and stuff, get feedback and stuff, and really more people were focused on Jimmy than they were Little Richard, so he was fired, I believe, from the band. Now, like Led Zeppelin, who went from the UK to the US to find fame, and really found more fame in the US, Britain didn't really care much for it. Jimi Hendrix is the exact opposite. He left the US to the UK to find fame. And that's where he ran into Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding, who would form the Jimi Hendrix Experience, which is one amazing band, and the stuff they cranked out in such a short time, really, is amazing. Now, to anyone who says, what is, like, songs I should go listen to of Jimi Hendrix, to really feel what a lot of people feel about Jimi Hendrix as an innovator, I wrote down a list, and this is probably one of my longest lists I think I'll ever write for a guy. But songs like Foxy Lady, Manic Depression, Foxy Lady's iconic riff, and the cool-ass lyrics that went with ooh, Foxy Lady, da-na-na. And that Manic Depression, just Manic Depression, stick in my soul. And songs like Red House, that a luminary from my Gods of Guitar series, episode number 2, which after this video, go watch that one. Red House, which Eric Clapton said could never be played. He couldn't master it, he didn't think anyone alive could play that song, by Robert Johnson. Jimi Hendrix did, and blew him off stage. And it's one of those things where Clapton was quite upset and mad at people, saying, you didn't tell me he was that fucking good. And then you go on to songs like Purple Haze with a just iconic riff, Hey Joe, just a nice slow blues, Hey Joe, where you going with that gun in your hand? Wind Cries Mary, Spanish Castle Magic, Little Wing. One of my all-time favorites, Castles Made of Sand, is an absolute treasure. Have you ever been to Electric Ladyland? That entire album, start to finish, is Jimi Hendrix's masterpiece. Crosstown Traffic, Voodoo Child. Now, don't get it confused with Voodoo Child, as I said in my Stevie Ray Vaughan video. Voodoo Child is a slow blues song, and it just blew my mind of how good Jimi Hendrix was. It wasn't just fast-paced stuff. There was this also slow-burning blues that Jimi Hendrix could play that really it felt like only Jimi could do. Another song, Come On Let the Good Times Roll, 1983, A Merman of What I Should Be, is an absolute epic. My all-time favorite Jimi Hendrix song, or at least one of them. That song has so many layers to it that it just is an experience to listen to, and especially the words to that song are so poignant to a lot of Jimi Hendrix's feelings, and I think the feelings of a lot of people, not only at that time, but also now. How it's kind of like we're feeling like we're having to attack the system to get them to really listen to people. Covers such as All Along the Watchtower, a Bob Dylan cover. Voodoo Child, Slight Return, great song, iconic. And I love the last line of that song, or that last verse or whatever. I didn't mean to take up all your sweet time, but I'll give it back to you one of these days. And then it's, if I can't meet you in this one, I'll meet you in the next one. And don't be late, don't be late. Which also got immortalized by Stevie Ray Vaughan. And Hendrix and Vaughan are very, very similar. At least in my opinion, of being these frantic guitar renegades playing blues. And almost doing it at a way that just worked for them and had their own style. Other songs such as Fire, Wild Thing, You Make My Heart Sing, great song. Machine Gun, Freedom, and my all-time favorite Jimi Hendrix track. If you can find the stripped-down version of it, not the overdubbed one from Ray of Sunshine or whatever it is, but Angel is one of my all-time. An angel came down from heaven yesterday. She stages long enough for afternoon tea. Love that song by Jimi Hendrix. Now, looking at Jimi Hendrix, something became evident very early on. He was ready to take rock and roll from this kind of poppy, just playing and sort of miming along, to just bringing this energy, this rebellion to it. That you notice watching Jimi Hendrix and his band, and you can always tell Jimi was having fun doing it. He's just jumping around stage, especially during Foxy Lady, where he'd just do it and then he'd jump in the air and bam, just crash down playing it. And also, Jimi Hendrix really was an innovator of the blues, really blues influenced, but he added so much to it, so many layers. They said Electric Ladyland, like he pretty much lived in the studio recording that album. He's writing guitar parts, and this is where I think 12-track tapes started coming out. Jimi Hendrix chose it because it had 12 tape tracks. That means Jimi Hendrix could record overdubs, overdubs of his stuff and really make it stand out into like, what the hell am I hearing? It's kind of like a cosmic assault of your mind, really. And he really used it effectively. After the Experience broke up, Jimi formed the Band of Gypsies, Billy Cox and some others, and they really, that's where he got stuff like Machine Gun, just that just that blues sound, amazing. Jimi Hendrix is one of the greatest guitar players of all time. Like, even songs like Little Wing, I just can't put it into words. It's kind of like almost feels like an orgasm of the mind whenever you talk about Jimi Hendrix, because it's like his stuff was so fresh. I know a lot of people now with like metal and that, I really suggest go back and listen to a lot of these old blues guys, because they really innovated a lot. They were allowed to innovate. They were allowed to be themselves, put their own flair into it, their own style, their own stage presence. And Jimi Hendrix was one of the best ever at it. Him and Stevie Ray Vaughan, I think it's absolutely perfect I do Hendrix after Vaughan, just because of Jimi Hendrix's entire career and how much it influenced so many guitar players afterwards, that even to this day they're still releasing Jimi Hendrix material. Supposedly the vault's massive of Hendrix, what he did, but the fact it was only about 3-4 years, maybe even 5 years, Jimi Hendrix, and this is all we got. I really highly suggest, if you're watching this, you haven't listened to Jimi Hendrix, go listen to Hendrix. He'll put you on your ass. There was a thing said by the Beatles. They released Sgt. Pepper in '67, and by the time The Weeknd hit, Jimi Hendrix already had the song Sgt. Pepper learned, which floored him, and it kind of got him into trouble with a lot of artists, and it's like, well, are you stealing our stuff? Are you doing this or that? But Hendrix really was an innovator. Passed away way too soon, just like Stevie Ray Vaughan. But I kind of agree with Frank Zappa on something, or at least what other people I've heard have said. I would have loved to have seen what Jimi Hendrix could have done had he not been drugged out, had he actually been sober. It would have been amazing. But anyway, that's my thoughts and opinions here. This is me here signing out. God's a Guitar episode number 5. The great Jimi Hendrix. Peace.